Section 6.2, Part 2, Multiplying and Dividing Radical Expressions. By the end of today's lesson, students are going to be able to divide radical expressions. In Part 1, we looked at the products. In Part 2, we're going to look at the quotients, which means if you're dividing. So the quotient says that if you take the nth root of A and divide it by the nth root of B, then you can simplify that to the nth root of A divided by B. Again, some things for you to notice, they have to have the same radical, otherwise you cannot make it into one radical all by itself. So let's look at an example using this. So if I give you the square root of 50, x to the 6th, divided by the square root of 2, x to the 4th. Okay, again, check to make sure that they have the same index. They're both square roots. So that means I can write it as one big radical, and I have 50 x to the 6th divided by 2, x to the 4th. Okay, now actually divide 50 divided by 2, which is going to give you 25. And then for your x's, you subtract them. So 6 minus 4 gives you x to the 2nd. Okay, the square root of 25 is 5. The square root of x squared is x. Remember, it could also be 5 times 5, x times x. Circle two of the same things to make it come out in front, which is how you get 5x. Press pause, and I want you to try dividing the cube root of 162y to the 5th divided by the cube root of 3y to the 2nd. First thing you need to do is check that they are both the same index, which they are. Now go ahead, make it one big cube root, so you have 162 y to the 5th divided by 3 y to the 2nd. Okay, now we are actually going to divide. 162 divided by 3 is going to give me the cube root of 54. And then remember, subtract your exponents, so 5 minus 2 gives me y to the 3rd. The cube root of 54 is not a nice number, so we need to break it down. So we know that 9 times 6 is 54, 3 times 3, 3 times 2. So you want to write it like this, the cube root, and then you write 3 times 3 times 3 times 2. Remember, you can check that, and that should give you 54. Then y to the 3rd, y times y times y. Okay, cube root means you need 3 of the same numbers for it to come out in front. So I have a 3 out in front. I also have a y out in front. And then this 2 that's left under, that isn't circled, is what's left underneath. And that's your final answer. Now we're going to learn how to rationalize the denominator when we're not given square roots. So we have the cube root of 7x divided by the cube root of 5y squared. The index on the outside of the radical tells you the total number you need to undo the radical. So we have to multiply. Since it's a cube root, both of these are cube roots, okay? So right now, you have 1 5. You need a total of 3 5s. So you need 2 more 5s to get to a total of 3. So let's check. 1 5 plus 2 5s gives me 3 5s. Okay, now let's look at the y's. You have 2 y's. You need a total of 3 y's. So that means you only need one more y. Whatever you do to the denominator, you must also do to the numerator. And now we are just going to go ahead and we're going to multiply. So, you take 7 and you multiply it by 5 squared. And that gives you 175. Okay, then we just have an x. There's nothing else to multiply it by, so we write our x. And there's a y that we have nothing else to multiply by. In the bottom, you have 1 5 and 2 more 5s, so we have a total of 3 5s. Again, 2 y's, 1 more y, which gives me a total of 3 y's. Now we would need to simplify the denominator. Since this is a 3 and this is a 3, it cancels out. Since this is a 3 and this is a 3, that's going to cancel out. So your final answer is the cube root of 175 xy divided by 5y. Okay, you would want to see if you could break down the 175, so I'm going to do it over here on the side. 175 is going to be 25 times 7, which is 5 and 5, and there is not 3 of the same numbers.